Hey everyone, welcome in. Ready to dive into something we all experience but probably don't overthink.
Sounds intriguing. What's on the agenda today?
It's all about those four seasons, spring, summer, fall, winter, how they impact us way beyond just sweater weather or beach day. We've got tons of research here on how it affects our minds, bodies, even how productive we are.
I like where this is going. It's interesting how often we see those seasons as something happening to us, like it's external, but our own biology is actually super connected to those cycles.
Okay, so it's not just about the weather we see outside. I remember from our sleep deep dive, we talked about those internal clocks, circadian rhythms, like how staring at our phones before bed messes with our sleep.
Exactly. And it's not only a 24-hour thing either. We have this circannual rhythm too, basically, our body's yearly clock. And just like circadian rhythms respond to light and dark, circannual rhythms pick up on temperature changes, how much daylight we've got, all those cues that signal a new season coming in.
So even if I'm stuck in my office all day, perfectly climate controlled, my body still knows what's up outside.
You got it. And that explains that whole gotta hibernate feeling in winter, that sluggishness, like it's a real biological thing. It's partly that sleep hormone, melatonin. Shorter days mean more melatonin, so our bodies crave more rest. Less about being lazy, more about straight-up chemistry.
Okay, this is already making me feel way better about my winter hibernation tendencies. But it's not just sleepiness or energy, right? Each season almost has its own vibe.
You're totally right. Distinct emotional tone, that's a good way to put it. If we understand those, that's how we can work with the seasons instead of feeling like we're fighting them constantly.
Okay, so break it down for me. Starting with spring. What's that emotional vibe we're talking about?
Spring's all about fresh starts, new beginnings. It's literally in the air. You've got plants blooming, animals coming out of hibernation. Our bodies are primed for that same renewal. Ever get that urge to spring clean like it's an instinct? That's partly your biology saying time to clear out the old stuff, make way for growth.
You mean it's not just me suddenly needing to reorganize my entire house when it gets warm out? That's oddly reassuring.
Not at all. It's a natural impulse. And it goes on, this pattern, with each season. Summer, now that's high energy time, made for socializing, getting stuff done,
Yeah.
making the most of those long sunny days.
Okay, that tracks with my concert going, gotta be outdoors mood all summer for sure. But then things kind of wind down.
Exactly. Transitioning to autumn, just like leaves falling, there's this natural urge towards reflection, letting go, taking stock of what we achieved, what we might need to release heading into the quieter months. Season made for those walks in nature.
Totally. And then winter comes along and it's like permission to fully embrace that cozy inward energy. We're allowed to slow down, recharge our batteries, maybe start brainstorming those spring cleaning projects.
Precisely. And the beauty is, when we get these natural inclinations, it takes off the pressure to be on all year round. Feeling less motivated in winter, that's okay. Your body's saying it's time for rest, introspection, lean into it.
Like we've got built-in permission to hit the pause button message I think everyone needs sometimes. But knowing that is one thing. How do we use it? Anything we can actively do to thrive during each season.
Absolutely. Everything from the food we eat to how we move our bodies, it can all either work with or against those natural seasonal responses.
Okay, hit me with those practical tips. I'm all about action steps.
So diet's a good place to start. More than just salad in summer, soup in winter, although that's not a bad starting point. In winter, crave those warm, comforting foods. There's a reason for that. Think soups, roasted veggies, those root vegetables, things that combat the sluggish feeling we talked about.
Asking for a friend. Are carbs okay? My winter cravings definitely say yes to carbs.
It's totally natural to want them this time of year. It's about making smart choices. Healthy carbs that give you that long-lasting energy.
Good point. So what about when the weather warms up? More than just watermelon all day, I'm guessing.
Uh-huh. You're right. Although watermelon is fantastic for staying hydrated. In summer, go for those fresh, lighter meals. Berries, salads, maybe some grilled fish. Anything to support that more active energy you naturally have.
This is making me rethink my grocery list for next week already.
And it's not only about what you eat, but the when, too. Ever consider that our metabolism actually changes with the seasons?
Wait, really? I need to hear more about this.
Makes sense when you think about it. Winter, less daylight, our metabolism naturally slows down a bit. It's a conservation thing. So eating nourishing food is still key, but you might not need as many calories as you think.
This is good intel, as I'm surrounded by holiday cookies right now.
And then summer hits, your metabolism's more active, you're moving more, sweating more, your body needs different fuel to keep up.
Explains why I swear my stomach growls louder after a day at the beach. Okay, we've covered food. What about exercise? Is there a seasonal thing to that too?
100%. Outdoor stuff is great, but we can adjust our routines to thrive year-round.
Yeah. I'll be honest. You're way more likely to find me on a hike in July than, say, January.
Nothing wrong with that. It's about working with your body, not forcing it. Winter's actually a good time to check out some indoor activities. Yoga is amazing, warms you up from the inside out. Tons of online classes if you prefer staying cozy at home. Even a brisk walk on a crisp fall day, that could be just as energizing as a summer hike.
So, honoring my body's natural rhythm, adapting to what feels best in that moment, in that season, not forcing a run in a blizzard if my body's telling me, read a book instead.
You got it. And speaking of winter, lots of people struggle being stuck indoors when it's cold out, even if they understand that whole hibernation thing intellectually.
Tell me about it. I love a good snow day, don't get me wrong. But come February, I definitely start missing the sunshine a bit.
Well, that's where nature's power comes in, even when it's chilly. Ever heard of forest bathing?
I have. It's like hugging trees,
Yeah.
right?
Not exactly, though I love the enthusiasm. Forest bathing is more about mindfully immersing yourself in nature, slowing down, engaging those senses, being present in that moment. And the cool part is, you can do it year-round.
I'm intrigued, but how do you actually do that in, like, a snowstorm?
Picture it. You're bundled up, walking in a snowy forest. Air's crisp, you can see your breath, everything's still and quiet. You focus on the crunch of the snow under your boots, the sunlight through the branches, maybe a woodpecker off in the distance.
Okay, I think my blood pressure just went down just imagining that.
Exactly. Even in winter, nature has that incredible calming effect. Stress reduction improves mental clarity. You feel more grounded.
Winter forest bathing is going on my to-do list. What about those of us without a picturesque snowy forest nearby, though?
Great question, because connecting with nature doesn't have to mean being outdoors, especially if the weather's being difficult. Stuck inside. Bring nature to you. Houseplants are amazing for they clean the air, add some life to your space, and taking care of them. Super therapeutic.
Speaking as a newly minted plant parent these past few years, can confirm.
See? Makes a difference. Even just looking at pictures of nature or listening to nature sounds has that calming effect. There's research on it.
So even when I am stuck inside, I can still tap into that peaceful, grounded feeling nature gives. This is giving me a whole new outlook on those long winter months, I'm not gonna lie.
Exactly. Get creative. Find ways to bring those natural elements into your life, no matter where you live, what the weather's doing.
This has been eye-opening already. We've covered, what, our internal clocks, how each season has its own mood, how to eat and move with nature's rhythms, not against them, even the power of the outdoors, no matter the weather. I feel like there's more to uncover in this whole seasonal journey, though.
Oh, absolutely. We're just scratching the surface here. Next up, how about we dive into how different cultures around the world have celebrated, honored these seasonal shifts for, well, centuries.
It's amazing to think about how different cultures around the world, they've celebrated the changing seasons for what, centuries? I'm thinking those harvest festivals in the fall, pictures of cherry blossoms in Japan. Like every culture has its own way of marking these natural cycles we've been talking about.
Absolutely. And it goes way deeper than just decorations or like special meals. Those traditions, they point to this deep understanding that we are connected to the earth, to its rhythms, which is what we're exploring, really.
I like that. So it's like these traditions are how we express that connection outwardly, right?
Yeah.
What are some of the ways different cultures have, I guess, honored the seasons?
Let's take indigenous cultures, for example. Lots of indigenous communities, they have traditions and ceremonies tied to the seasons, and those go back centuries. A lot of times, they're about giving thanks for the earth's bounty, you know,
Mm.
asking for a good harvest, or marking that shift between seasons with a certain ritual.
It's about that respect for the natural world and realizing how much we actually depend on it, right?
Exactly. And those traditions, they're incredibly resilient. You see a lot of indigenous communities keeping these practices alive, even using them to address modern issues like climate change.
That's pretty inspiring when you think about it. Like, we've got a lot to learn from cultures that have lived in harmony with nature for generations, you know?
Speaking of different perspectives, what about traditions like paganism or Wicca? Those have strong ties to nature and the seasons too, don't they?
Yeah, you're right. Those often put a big emphasis on what they call the wheel of the year. Basically, it's a calendar, but it follows the cycle of the seasons. And they've got festivals and celebrations marking the solstices, the equinoxes. Those points in the year have a lot of spiritual meaning in those traditions.
Like the winter solstice, when we have the shortest day. I always love that because it means the days are getting longer again.
Exactly. It's a really powerful symbol of hope and renewal, and lots of cultures actually celebrate it with rituals that involve light, like bonfires, candle lighting. It's
Yeah.
about embracing the darkness, but knowing that light's coming back. It's kind of primal, isn't it? Comforting, even. And it makes you realize, like, those markers on the calendar, they're not just arbitrary dates.
Right. They're woven into the fabric of like the planet's journey around the sun.
Mm.
And because of that, they're part of our experience, the human experience. And speaking of that, we've talked about the physical side of the seasons, the emotional side, but there's a spiritual dimension there too that's worth exploring.
Okay, yeah, I'm definitely interested to hear more about that. What do you mean by the spiritual side of things?
Well, think about it like this. Each season, it's like it gives us this opportunity to reflect, to grow personally, almost like nature's providing a spiritual practice, if we're paying attention.
I love that. It's like nature's got the curriculum all laid out for us if we're open to it.
You got it. So, for
Cool.
example, winter, right? Shorter days, cold temperatures naturally, it makes things a little slower. It's a time when nature's dormant, but it's also a time for us to go inward a bit, to reflect, rest, nourish ourselves on a deeper level, almost like hitting the reset button on our souls, I guess you could say.
It's like that quiet time right after all the holidays are over when you can just exhale and be.
I definitely see the spiritual potential there.
Exactly. And then along comes spring. And just like in nature, there's this burst of energy, of possibility. It's the time for starting fresh, for growth, for expansion.
So a perfect time to maybe start a new project, take on a new challenge, or even just like refresh my self-care routine.
You got it. Spring's all about planting seeds, and I mean that both literally and figuratively. It's about the things we want to grow in our lives, the things that help us bloom, just like all the flowers popping up everywhere this time of year.
I can feel my energy shifting just thinking about it. Then summer's when we get to enjoy what we've worked for, right?
Exactly. Summer's all about warmth, abundance, that outward energy, time to celebrate life, connect with people, really savor all the good stuff that's happening.
Yeah, good reminder to slow down and appreciate the good stuff, even when things are busy. Absolutely, and as much as it pains me to say, because, summer person here, autumn, has its own special kind of beauty, and a spiritual side too, you can't deny it.
It really does. There's that like melancholy to it, but a sense of peace at the same time.
That's it. It's about harvest, gathering, and appreciating all we've cultivated over the year.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also about letting go. Leaves falling, days are getting shorter. There's a natural surrender there to this cycle of nature.
It's interesting because as people, we often resist change. But nature's showing us letting go is just as important as growing, as achieving.
Right. You have to embrace the change, see it as a vital part of the whole cycle. You've brought a good point, though, with climate change and all.
Yeah.
How is that impacting these seasonal shifts we're talking
Mm.
about? Are we going to lose that rhythm, that predictability we've always relied on?
That's the big question, isn't it? And a little worrying, if I'm honest. It's one thing for winter to come after fall, but what happens when the seasons themselves are unpredictable?
Valid concern, for sure. What we know for certain is that climate change, it is affecting weather patterns globally. We're seeing more extremes in temperature, those swings between seasons that are unpredictable. Even things like when plants bloom, when birds migrate, the timing's off.
So that guarantee we used to have that spring follows winter, for example, that might not be so certain in the future.
It's a real possibility, unfortunately. We might start seeing springs that are late, winters that drag on longer, or even just more extreme weather events that mess with those traditional patterns.
Wow, that's a lot to process. Feels kind of overwhelming. Anything we can do to cope with that uncertainty, besides like stockpiling batteries and water bottles?
Uh-huh. Well, being prepared is never a bad thing. But you're right, it's bigger than that. First off, I think awareness is key. The more we understand about how climate change is working, how it's affecting things, the better we can adapt to those changes, respond to them.
So staying informed, paying attention to what's happening in our own communities, those smaller changes we might see around us.
Exactly. But it's not all doom and gloom either. We can also support the organizations that are doing the work to fight climate change. Advocate for policies that make sense, that promote sustainability. And on a personal level, there are things we can do to build our own resilience, adapt to these rhythms as they change.
Okay, yeah, I could use some of that positive spin right now. Give me some hope here.
Well, remember how we were talking about strengthening our own connection to nature? That's going to be more important than ever. Even with the seasons getting less predictable, that connection can be really grounding. It can bring stability. Whether it's spending time outdoors, maybe taking up gardening, or even just noticing those little changes happening around us, that awareness can really help.
It's about finding those reminders that, okay, nature's still there, even if the timing's a little off.
That's it. Cultivating that adaptability. The seasons shift. We might need to get better at being flexible with our routines, with our expectations. Maybe it's changing how we approach gardening or finding new ways to enjoy being outdoors during different times of the year.
So it's not about fighting it, it's about working with it, those changes as they come.
You got it. Approaching those shifts with curiosity, with a willingness to adapt.
Like nature's giving us this crash course in resilience, which I think we could all use a little more of these days, right?
That's a great way to put it. It's about finding that sweet spot where our modern lives, they can exist alongside this ancient wisdom that nature has.
This has been incredibly insightful, I had to say. It feels like we went beyond just a surface level understanding of the seasons and really dug into how profoundly they affect us. But before we wrap up this deep dive, I feel like we need to bring it all together, you know?
I agree. We've covered a lot of ground here. We talked about the science behind how our bodies react to the seasons, the ways different cultures have honored them for centuries, and of course, climate change, this unavoidable reality, and how it's shifting our experience of the seasons.
We've been on quite a journey, haven't we? But the big question for me is still, how do we actually live this way? Like, integrate that seasonal awareness into our everyday lives. It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day and forget about these bigger rhythms we've been talking about.
Oh, absolutely. It's a conscious effort for sure. But it starts really simply just paying attention, noticing those little shifts in our environment, the light changing sounds we hear, even how the air smells different. Those are all clues. They help us tune into, like right here, right now, this is the season we're in.
So even if it's just small acts of mindfulness, that can make a difference. Like, instead of rushing to work, I stop and appreciate the sunrise, or how the leaves are turning colors on my street.
Exactly. Those small moments, they have a big impact overall. It's about changing our mindset,
Yeah.
from that go, go, go to one of just being present, observing.
I like that, hitting the pause button throughout the day, and it's like
Yeah.
reconnecting with nature, even for a few seconds. What are some other ways we can do that? Make it more tangible, this whole seasonal awareness thing.
Well, think about your routines, your rituals, how those can be aligned with the seasons too. We talk diet, exercise, but it goes beyond that. Maybe how you do your skincare changes as the weather changes, or like creating a cozy reading spot in your house for when it's those dark winter months.
Or switching out my bright summery candles for something more woodsy smelling as we get into fall. Love that.
Right. Create that sensory experience that just fits with what's going on outside. And don't be afraid to get creative with it. Make it your own.
So we're giving ourselves permission to really feel that unique energy each season has, not just in our heads, but in our homes, our routines.
Exactly. And as you make those shifts, as you pay attention more, you might be surprised how much more connected you feel to, well, to everything, the rhythms of life.
Finding that harmony, right, in ourselves and with the world around us. I think that's something we all crave, especially these days. This has been such a rich conversation. I've learned so much. As we wrap up our deep dive here, any final thoughts you want to leave our listeners with?
If there's one thing to take away from all this, it's that nature's not separate from us. We are nature. Our bodies, our minds, even our spirits, they're all connected to how the earth moves. And when we honor those rhythms, we're honoring a part of ourselves in the process.
That's beautifully put. So to everyone listening, as you go through the seasons, pay attention, listen to your body, and embrace the wisdom that's all around us. It's a journey, and it's always unfolding.
And remember, even the small changes, they make a difference. Every step we take to connect with nature, to align ourselves with it, it brings us closer to a healthier, happier, and honestly more fulfilling life.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for being here with us on this deep dive into the seasons. Until next time, take care, everyone, and stay curious.